Hello again. Okay, so this is an experiment. I have an idea because I want to show you a little bit the sound of the album, like, so that you can really start to get this actually sound vision of how it's coming together in quite different ways. And I have this idea that I play for you. I'm in the studio now, that I play for you through the monitors the track, but I like jump through it so I don't show you the whole thing, and I like explain you things over the track. So that's what I'm going to try and do now. It's an experiment. We just try. And this song is called Fly Through the Night. And actually, this track is really interesting to me because I had tried to produce it a little bit once a long time ago, and then subsequently sent it to a drum and bass producer called Christophe. I will put his details in the description so you can check him out. He's got some great music on Spotify. And he really felt for making a liquid drum and bass version of this track. And we started working on that track first, actually. I left behind the old version. I didn't like it. I wasn't in the right space. I was trying too hard to make something good. I've shifted since then. And so the first element that you're going to hear is very much co-created between us and comes from me improvising and then him catching on a bit of the improvisation and sort of like building it up. And so this first element that's going to start in just a moment. Let's see. I'm going to hold the phone up a little bit actually, just so that we get good sound into the microphone. Yeah, so this element, Fly Through the Night, builds up in harmonies. Fly through the night. Fly through the night. And this element of sort of like builds through vocals and layers of vocals. I think this is something that really carries through the album. Like, I work a lot with the voice, so how can I use my voice and its moods to sort of create feelings in the track? And the cello you hear now, that's Ragnhild. She came to the studio to play cello, and you hear her now. You can actually, if you I'm going to pause it for a moment. If you zoom in just on the sound of Ragnhild, you can hear her breathing to sort of keep her timing. If you just isolate the track, I wonder, is it fun? I wonder if it's fun that I show you this. I don't think Ragnhild will mind. It's so beautiful. Do you hear a little sniff? You hear it sometimes. I'm not sure if it's going to come through, but I just think it's so beautiful to know that somewhere hidden in the track somewhere are these little sniffs and breaths of Ragnhild, which are so beautiful because I really watched her when she was playing and she really felt into the music and I could see her playing from that space, which is exactly how I like coach people to voice from, that space of real connectedness and presence and feeling. And so great to have her. Okay, let's jump through a little bit because now I'm gonna show you a little bit of how I incorporate poetry into the tracks. Let's see from here.
Is it really not possible for it to be a different way? Our brilliant minds can and do dream of different kinds of days, where everybody has a voice to say what they want to say, where we smile and hug and not manipulate and invade. But we know the world is...
So it's like, I really love writing poetry and I've rapped a lot over beats. But the album is really exploring because beats are coming in slowly. But what is this? Is it a poem? Is it a rap? Is it spoken word? I don't really mind. And I don't quite know what to call it. But it's just sort of like whatever... saying the words over whatever musical mood has inspired them, I really like that. And I do tend to write my lyrics first. Like, I have an idea of a melody in my mind, But then really the song comes together and the words are what drive the creation of the track. And you can hear, like, there's lots of different little mood changes within the tracks. In this one, maybe a bit less so even than in the other ones, but you're still going to hear it. Like, I show you a little bit of now a next part.
I've got the wind in my hair and the stars in my eyes.
I want to just actually wait. It's okay that this video is not perfect. We jump back a little bit more.
So far too soon. In the act of rising, there's a risk that we will fall. In fact, perhaps the act of rising is to risk it all. I've got the wind in my hair.
You know, the track is about, like, the ultimate transformation comes from taking that leap. We don't know if we're gonna fly or if we're gonna fall. This idea of sort of like using a super high note to drive through to a breakthrough to a new like part of the track is also something that's really inspired by Christoph. And then the tempo sort of like speeds up and now we're more kind of like in this groove, you know, this is the beginning, it's the start of it all. Getting ready to fly means getting ready to fall. Like, oh, I think we're doing it. And then I guess it's only until quite later that we get actually to what I would say was the core of the song in the beginning. This little element of we fly with the night on our shoulders. I had been playing around in Ableton. I was just learning. And I needed a lyric. I needed a lyric to just go with something. And I just, bleh, on the fly, I just, bleh. And in the end, like, Christoph, the drum and bass producer, picked up on it. And yeah, it became a track. It really became a track, as I also wrote new elements that in the end didn't get put into the drum and bass track. Yeah, so let me see if this is the right place for this kind of like original bit. Yeah.
Night on our shoulders, getting high and a little bit bolder, feeling wise but a little bit older. Am I alright? I think I'm gonna. We ride the night hard like we don't care, feel inspired by the lights, but we're so scared. We could fly even higher, but we don't dare. Am I alright? I think I'm gonna.
And this voice, like, I think I'm gonna, this one, like, it actually feels a bit vulnerable for me to put it in because I don't think that it sounds beautiful in the conventional way. But the way that I coach with voice is really a lot about, you know, letting the emotion come through. And this sudden entry of, I think I'm gonna, like, almost, I think I'm gonna throw up, or I think I'm gonna, like, something is gonna happen and it's gonna be a big release. It's like bringing in this, I think I'm gonna, like, it's not a pretty sound, but I think it brings this emotiveness to this, like, different kind of a way of coming through to a breakthrough. Because now we're coming into, like, I really appreciate West African polyrhythms. I love them. I love them. And I know I'm not, like, from the African culture, but I really have spent a long time in Ghana and Senegal and quite humbly soaking in cultures and really learning from percussion masters. And I'm really grateful for those teachings and that I can incorporate them into the tracks because these grooves, they just wiggle my booty. And here I've used a kind of cross rhythm so that it's like a 6/8 cutting over the 4/4 to make this sort of like choppy, you know, I think I'm gonna, and now it's, ooh, I'm moving the camera as well. Yeah, you get the effects, like, woohoo. Let me show you, see if you agree. Maybe I save the little drop of that just because you can't just show the whole thing before it's released. You gotta keep them wanting something. This you hear it, this like cross rhythm.
I'm collecting stars, just catching
And then I get a bit
rapid. Every time I fly up there like a rocket, surrender, let the ice fall back in their sockets. Drop all the way to the edge of my knowledge, expand. Reach out to space, take my soul by the hand. Cut the invisible ties that control.
That's a rap that some people have heard quite a lot. It's a rap I wrote a long time ago. Oh yeah, it's why I was playing around in Ableton. I was like, I'm gonna just work with producing this rap. And it's become something totally different than it ever was. I remember myself when I lived in Calhel about 4 years ago, like when it was coming together, and I was sort of like saying it into my phone, just trying to get a grip on the rhythm and everything. So much has happened since then. But I love how it's come together. And then really this fly through the night element that ties it all together, this sort of like co-created element with Christoph. I think it's really done a lot to pull everything together, and I think it sounds great. I'm really grateful to Johan Herdin, who came over and mixed it a bit yesterday and showed me, so that I get to grips a bit with how I need to do that with the other tracks. And then I'll be looking at those in the next days, and also working on the next 2 tracks that I have coming. And one kind of like, one takes it a bit dark. One takes it a bit dark because I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to talk about what's real and raw. And then at some point it's got to go a bit dark and like reach into those spaces that it's not so nice to look into. But then there is a shift. There is darkness in my lyrics, there is, but there is so much love and hope. And I think it's what comes through, really, this power. There's another one about codependency. There's a song about codependency that's also going to be on the album. And those are the 2 that are like, I'm in the zone with them, you know, this creative focus. Looking forward to showing you more soon.